Hello, this is Nick from Dripper Labs, and today we're going to be talking about sweetness. So when we made our blackcurrant menthol, I tactfully chose to gloss over why sweetness was in a recipe by default. So every time you create a new recipe, it will already start with sweetness in it at 20%. So first of all, there is help, and I showed you this before. And the bottom line is that sweetness is used in two different ways. One, at low levels, it really enhances and boosts other ingredients and elevates them in the recipe to give them a stronger, more prominent taste. Yes, that's particularly true with fruits, but it's pretty much true of any flavor. And this is not something to do with Dripper Labs. This is the way that all mainstream e-liquids work. They have sweetness in to elevate and boost the flavor profiles. However, we also know that sweetness is a very provocative topic. A lot of people, associate too much sweetness with a sickly or a chemically vape. They also know that high levels of sweetness can shorten your coil life because it can be hard on coils. So each vapor has their own sort of innate sort of preferences for how sweet they like things. So what we've done at Dripper Labs is pull sweetness out of a lot of the main ingredients. So there is sweetness in some of them to enhance them, but the levels are lower than you would normally get, and then we let you control the sweetness of your flavor profile independently with its own sweetness slider. So it's there by default because if you forget it to put it in, and it lives in the enhancers and modifiers, if you forget to add sweetness, your flavor won't be awful, it just might taste a little bit muted, at least compared to what you're used to. So we put it in at the standard of 20%. The range that we recommend is 10 to 40, and that could be based on your personal preference, or it could also take into consideration the kind of flavor that you're making. So if you're making a sweet apple pie, then you want the sweetness higher to reflect that, to reflect the flavor profile you're creating. If you're making a dry, nutty tobacco, then you might want the sweetness lower. So 10 to 40 is a good place to start. If you really like your sweetness, you can push it up, and just you'll get what you expect, more sweetness. We tend to say that even at the top of the level, the 100%, you shouldn't ruin your e-liquid, but I think with the sweetness it's particularly worth going steady and sort of creeping up slowly. 10 to 40 is a great place to start, and if you aren't sure, leave it at the 20% that it starts at, and that is what you should do. If you want to delete it, you can, but be warned, you may well get a slightly muted flavor. Like I said, some are more robust. If you're making a tobacco flavor or something like that, then you don't want them necessarily to be sweet. You want them to be a bit drier and a bit more savory. So sweetness is a great thing. Boosts flavors at lower levels way before you get any of that sickly, coil killing sort of negative connotations that you might have with sweetness. So that is sweetness explained. Generally don't take it out. Generally leave it between 10 and 40%, and if you aren't sure, leave it at the default 20%. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next video where we're going to look at flavor strength.